Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining the Real Estate and Finance Fridays on the Pursuit 365 podcast. I'm your host, Shelly Smee. I'm an associate broker at Oakwyn Realty. Today, we're going to do something just a little bit different. As you can see, there's nobody on the screen with me today. I am going to give you my Real Estate 101 rundown. I get a lot of questions, both from when I teach at the real estate board to agents who know that I have been a managing broker in the past. And that is a job where you basically have the oversight for a brokerage in training and making sure that everyone is following the extremely long list of regulations that we conduct our business under. And this can be very confusing to the consumer. And it's also confusing to the realtors, especially when the legislation is often changed quickly with very little consultation by the government with the industry, although that is getting a little bit better after the last few years of extreme pace of change, rate of change within our industry and within the way that the industry is regulated. So where do we start? Well, I think one of the things that even a lot of agents who've just passed their real estate license don't actually understand, because it may be covered in the real estate licensing program, but I don't think it's really easy to understand until you're actually in the industry and see all the layers that are make up what we call organized real estate. Now, you may think that's a bit of an oxymoronic statement, and in some cases you may be right, but we do have to be very, very aware, very organized, keep up to date with professional development courses. We call that our PDP, Professional Development Program. And most people who are in a business where they have to have a license to practice do have a level of professional development credits that they must maintain within their industry standard to keep their license active. And of course, real estate is no different. So, where does it begin? So, I think one of the things consumers really don't understand a lot of the time is that organized real estate has two branches. When we say organized real estate, what we mean is that we have a recognized MLS system that is the warehouse and the facilitator of our multiple listing service. So that multiple listing service that in Canada is overseen by CREA, the Canadian Real Estate Association. And don't worry, I'm going to put a lot of links below. So as a consumer, you can check a lot of these links out if you are so inclined. If you're a bit of a real estate nerd like me, maybe you already know about these things, but most people outside of industry do not actually understand how it all links together. So we're going to peel back the curtain today and let you in on how this all works together in tandem as an industry. So the Canadian Real Estate Association is a consortium of MLS systems across Canada. Canadian Real Estate Association, CREA. So each real estate board, whether it's the Greater Vancouver Realtors, they just rebranded. You may used to have been seeing REGVB board. It's a lot easier to just think of Greater Vancouver Realtors, GVR. And then when the Vancouver board as it's known, is connected to our provincial association of MLS systems called the BCREA, and that's the British Columbia Real Estate Association. And the BCREA runs programming to the benefit of the realtors. So what that means is if you're a member, a realtor, and in order to be having the brand mark Realtor, because it is a brand mark, it's not just, a colloquial name like Kleenex. We all know Kleenex is tissue, but Kleenex is actually a trademark brand. Well, that goes the same with Realtor. If you call yourself a realtor, it means that you are a member of a local real estate board. So if somebody calls themselves an agent, that's fine. We're all agents per se, licensed agents, a licensee. But to call yourself a realtor, you do need to be a member of a real estate board, whether that's Vancouver, Surrey, Chilliwack, any number of real estate boards across the province are all members de facto of the BCREA, BC Real Estate Association. So why this is important to understand is that the real estate board serves realtors and hosts our MLS system and serves to ensure the MLS system can be run through across Canada and of course now through the internet, and that the listings have a consistency, that the fields that are required fields are filled out, and that additional fields are consistent across all real estate boards. So when you go to the realtor.ca website, whether you're looking at listings in Halifax or in Hamilton or in Chilliwack, for the most part, they should show up in a consistent fashion because all of the fields are standardized. So that's the real estate boards. The real estate boards and BCREA also provide professional development, education, ongoing for their members. So, how does one get a real estate license and become licensed? The licensing of realtors is managed, administered, and overseen in general for our industry by the government agency called the BC Financial Services Agency. So the BCFSA is the regulator of the industry. They are the other arm that is sole purpose is to protect the interests of the public. If you go to their website, that's what it'll tell you. And to oversee the licensing and administration of licensees for licensing items from the initial issuance of your license when you pass the real estate exam and get accepted into a brokerage, which we'll get to that in a minute, to every 2 years when a realtor has to have completed their PDP requirements and submit their many, many dollars to renew their license. Renewing your license requires you to also do some courses through the BCFSA portal that include a legal update and usually a topic like money laundering or GST or whatever they feel is a hot button topic for that licensing cycle. So your realtor or your agent, most agents, if they're in residential or resale, will be part of an MLS system or a real estate board. There are some commercial agents and large commercial brokerages that aren't necessarily part of a board. They may not need to use the MLS system for the types of transactions that they do, and may not feel that that is part of their business model, and that's entirely fine. But if you are an agent and you want access, full access to the MLS listing service in your neighborhood or your area, you do need to be a member of a board. So let's get back to the BCFSA. The BCFSA is the regulator of the financial services industry now in British Columbia. That includes your mortgage broker, the banking system, and real estate, and insurance. So under that large umbrella of financial services that are regulated by the government, there are differing levels of accreditations that need to be had when you work in those different industries. Certainly, if you look at anything to do with money and what's called a fiduciary duty, you most likely have a governing body that oversees the licensing of the professionals in that industry. You see it with doctors, you see it with lawyers, you see it with accountants, you see it with financial service providers. When money or people's health are involved, there is most likely a licensing body there. What the licensing body also does is it serves as a portal for the public to inquire as to the legitimacy of a practitioner's license. So if you ever have an issue with a real estate agent, or you want to find out general information about how the industry works on behalf of the public good, you can go to the British Columbia Financial Services Association and look at their website, and there is a lot of information on there. What we also need to understand is the difference between the real estate board and the BCFSA is that the BCFSA is there for the public, where the real estate boards are servicing the needs of the real estate industry. It doesn't mean that they are in opposition to each other. It means that they exist independently. And this is the way that our industry has a lot of oversight. So usually when there is an issue with a consumer and a realtor, that will go to the BCFSA. As a consumer, there is a way in which you can submit a concern, and hopefully not a complaint, but you can submit your concerns on the BCFSA portal, and one of their staff in compliance will reach out to you and hopefully help you solve your concern. The real estate board's process for handling complaints is between agent to agent. Sometimes consumers can become involved if the issue is such that it warrants oversight by our industry, whether it was a breach of our code of conduct or whether it was a incorrect or data error, or if it's something that involves a dispute over commission. So those are the kinds of things that are the oversight that the real estate boards look at. But really what the board is there to do is to help your agent, your realtor, get the most correct and the most succinct information about your property, about your listing, out into the domains and out into the CREA domains, which is realtor.ca. And of course, you may have come across that the same listings can show up on multiple websites. So what is that all about? Quite often, if your listing agent, when you're selling your home, hasn't explained the concept or the actual utility, I think you would rather call it, of reciprocity of the MLS system, this is something that consumers often aren't aware of. Even very tech savvy people are often surprised to find out that through the MLS system, when you sign your listing agreement, you're agreeing that your listing can be disseminated far and wide on the internet to anyone who has signed a reciprocity agreement with the board that your listing is appearing on. So that is why you can have your listing go out to hundreds and hundreds of websites, not just the MLS websites, but your realtor's website, any agent who's set up a website to capture specific types of listings, whether they've decided that they are condo specialists or farm specialists, or they even might set up a website for a particular building or a particular neighborhood specialist. The way that technology works these days is very impressive. I'm not going to even get into any of the AI tools that have come out, because that's even beyond the scope of what I am looking at myself right now in our marketing. But there are so many different ways that the listings can go out across the internet. So that brings me to another point. Why does my agent want me to stage my home? Or why does my agent want to stage my home? Well, I'm sure if you put on your buyer's hat, or maybe you just do this for fun, because it seems to be real estate is almost a sport in Vancouver and the Lower Mainland, maybe everywhere, I don't know. But if you're cruising through the listings, maybe you have your favorite sites that you like to visit, and you see photos that maybe my particular peeve is, no pun intended, is when the toilet seat gets left up in pictures. Or, you see properties that just don't look or don't have the perceived value of the price that they're being offered at. Sometimes there is, extenuating circumstances. Maybe it's a tenant property. Maybe the homeowner just does not have the wherewithal to put their property together in its best light. But I think if you're going to list with an agent who doesn't at least have that conversation with you about how your property should be presented, perhaps you should interview a few more. Certainly on my team, it's always been our practice to have that conversation with our clients. And when you look through our website of integritygroup.ca, you'll see that the majority of our listings, even our listings that are estate sales or POA sales, we really try to do our best to present it in its best light, because that is our job as the listing agent. Our job as the listing agent is to maximize the value of the property by whatever means of presentation, research, knowing what the other properties in the market have sold for, and coming up with marketing strategies that may change over time. Certainly where we are right now, I'm taping this on Thursday, June 20th, the market in Vancouver in the Lower Mainland is in a very different place than it has been for the last 20 years. So having conversations with your buyers and sellers to understand what their expectations are, and to show the data from the MLS, which is why it's so important to maintain the data that goes into the MLS, and just show what's actually happening with the market. Because really, when you hear what the media is saying about the market, most of the time they're collecting that from month-old 30-day-old data that comes out at the end of the month from the real estate board. And markets can change really quickly. They can change in a week. I can remember back in 2008, had pretty good summer that summer, and then September the phone just stopped ringing. It just stopped. The phone stopped ringing. So we were very fortunate in Vancouver that our market did not really tank in the way that a lot of other markets across North America did, but people stopped transacting. And we are also seeing a lot of pressure in our market right now through affordability. This is a topic that's not going to go away, and I'm not going to get into that topic right now. If you want to follow somebody who's on top of all of that, I suggest one of our Oakwinites, Steve Saretsky. You may already follow him on X or Twitter, but Steve takes a lot of time to look at all the micro and macroeconomic factors that affect our market, and I really respect his take on things. Because it is, it's up for debate what people have as an opinion. But when you actually look at data and make data-based decisions, that's really all you can go on. So this is just a little slice of some of the things that I like to talk about, being a true real estate nerd. One of the things that I'm super proud of is my team. I have my business partners, Michael Buttery and Noma Asobi, and you'll be meeting them on the podcast next week and the week after. And one of the things that's also become very, very challenging in the current real estate environment, and really a lot of industries, I hear this from pretty much all of my colleagues across different sectors, that the pace of change with technology and how the integration of technology into our business models and our business frameworks is rapidly changing how we do business. It is really quite stunning. So one of the things that I find that is very useful for us in how we serve our clients is having a established group of other professionals, whether it's mortgage brokers, house cleaning people. I'm just going through my mind and all the different services that we use on a regular basis, whether it's the drone photography, the home inspectors, people at banks. A lot of times people have a financial institution that they want to stay with. They don't necessarily use a mortgage broker. And my opinion on that is, you go where you can get the best service and the best rate. I know that the mortgage brokers that we work with are excellent. Certainly after 28 years, I've met a lot of people in the business. And for me, I want my clients to be educated. I want them to learn something. Not everybody is an expert in everything, and I'm certainly not an expert in finance. I'm an expert in negotiating and in service. So I leave those financial conversations to the experts. But when it comes to understanding other things about the real estate industry, one of the other questions that I often get is why... Oh, there's my dog. There's my dog barking. I don't know if they'll be able to edit this out, but that's Coco. Coco, be quiet. So Coco thinks that there is somebody outside. So one of the things that people often ask me is, how can you be a commission-based salesperson for so long? And to that, I say, each to their own, but there's a certain level of trust that I have in the universe. I know that may sound airy-fairy, but you have to trust that you've got the skills and the experience to get the referral business, and to always be learning, always be looking for new opportunities, and to really, really enjoy working with people. And that is something that has kept me in this business. I really love working with people. I have clients now whose children have bought homes with me. And certainly we'll talk about the transfer of generational wealth in another couple of weeks. I'll be having one of our esteemed guests from the financial services industry on the podcast, and we'll talk about some of the upcoming changes that are coming down the way depending on the election, which I won't talk about politics right now either. But all I can say is I'm going to end it off with, please feel free to reach out to us with your real estate questions. We love servicing our clients, and we look forward to helping you to buy, sell, or just give you some friendly advice when you need it. Hope you have a great weekend, and we'll see you next week. And we'll be talking with Noma Asobi, one of my partners at Integrity Real Estate Group. Thank you.